man here.
All done with
That
coffee.
apparently knew every, celebrity from the 30s to the 60s, Unbelievable, unbelievable. Wow. It was an amazing ride.
Thank you.
Well, I'm a land-based guy. I do things that mostly don't move. And if they move, that means there's a problem.
It's a problem.
When I got Kelly's phone call, instead of jumping up and down of joy, which, I said, why? I said, why do you want me to do this? He said, and she said,
Because you're the best.
right. I'm a sort of a portrait artist. I tend to address emotions rather than motion. And Kelly awarded me with 3 spaces on the solstice, and one of them actually has high ceilings. That has the highest ceilings, right?
That's right.
It's what
Like
they call
you.
the main dining room. The main dining room is the space where the lady gets dressed up to walk down the stairs. And if she's dressed down, it's fine. But that's the room where every person on the ship experiences at least 1 or 2 or 3 major meals. So it is sort of the epicenter of the culinary experience. And I have a little bit of experience with these kind of rooms, but not to this scale. I mean, this room has 1,500 seats. I do 1,500 seats a year. Not in one room, 1,500 seats and 42 service stations, guys. I don't know if anybody of you are in the hospitality business, you know what it takes to put all this stuff in one room. So it is a sort of a dream project for somebody that comes from the hospitality business to try to create a restaurant and not a dining room. Everybody is very much involved in all the food culture these days. The most important thing for a traveler today is a list of restaurants rather than a list of museums So, bringing 1,500 people together into one space and making them feel that they are in a restaurant, that they're ordering actually food from a menu, from a waiter that actually takes this order down, goes and gets you what you want, is an amazing feat, not just from a design standpoint, but from an organizational standpoint. And I've been in this business for a long time and owned restaurants and stuff, and I know what it takes to feed. And you're in and out in 45 minutes because there's another 1,500 people waiting to come in. So the idea here was to create this magical venue that becomes a great restaurant, a space to be in, but it's not just decorated. It has some kind of an architectural impact. And I think we have a sort of a video of the presentation. The main dining room, which is now called the Grand Epernay. And I don't know if any one of you knows Epernay, what is Epernay, but Epernay is the Champagne region of France. The design has this bubbly idea. Everything bubbles and everything moves and happens. There are, incidentally, a couple of areas in this place that have low ceilings, but that is for the second class. Just kidding. No, you're actually on the mezzanine, but the room opens up into this massive space that not only has tables and chairs, but we try to bring in some elements of a restaurant. There's a very spectacular wine room. That's the grand stair that you're just seeing. It's all glass and lighting and so on and so forth. So the effect that I was asked to create is specified in the Royal Caribbean textbook as wow, right? And so he said, what does that mean? He said, the first customer that walks in has to say, wow. Okay, so we built this room that has a very strong architectural influence, or just some kind of these trusses and beams, which hopefully you will see them coming. They were all added to the room to create a structure. You're almost like inside the skeleton of a cruise ship. And it gives you a very interesting point of view on the contest of being on a ship, because we almost exposed the buttresses and the feeling of the ship itself to have to create an environmental contest of an idea for the customer. So this was one of the 3 venues that I was involved in, and the other 2, one is the Lido Cafe. As you heard, the name Lido has come from Mussolini. I didn't know that. If I did, Mussolini.
You would have again said no.
How's that?
Benito Mussolini. That would have been my second no. It is what is called in the business as the all-day dining venue, which is in essence what most people know as the buffet, self-service. Now, this is truly an all-day dining experience, because if you've been on a cruise ship, there's an announcement, like you're sitting there trying to read a book on a deck. It says, buffet is open, the ship tilts. Everybody going to the buffet. It's true. I said it's moving. I mean, it was. The Lido Cafe is again, it's not a classical buffet. It is a very large restaurant as well that has a series of open kitchens, and food is prepared in front of you. So it's a very active and interactive experience. The third venue that we did, which unfortunately we don't have the images for, is a Tuscan grill. Now that I know how to do. That is a smaller restaurant, more of a specialty restaurant. It's very fun and Italianish, but we can talk about that later. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Adam. One of the things I get to do today is to play Larry King with my wonderful panelists here, and I get to ask them a few questions, and then we'll come to your questions in a minute. But my first question is, ladies and gentlemen, what was the inspiration process and challenges faced during this project? Who would like to go first on that?
Well, I think I touched a little bit on the inspiration a bit earlier, which really was that we wanted to kind of break ourselves out of the notion that we are competing with other cruise lines, because we really are a vacation experience. We're competing with any kind of vacation experience, shoreside or seaside. So the idea was that we wanted to really develop something that was respectful of the fact that it is a ship, brings the authenticity of a ship experience to the guests, but does so in a way that they are very comfortable in a stylish environment that rivals any facility on shore. That was the overall goal for the project and the overall vision for the project.
I think it's also, it's really a matter of creating an experience. I mean, you come on board this ship, and if the shortest trip that you can take is 4 days. So for 4 days, you are in one confined environment. And you don't want to feel that you have to do certain things, or you don't have to do certain. You want to give people freedom. You want to give them freedom of choice. You want to give them variety. And obviously, that's one of the reasons that there were several designers involved. You want to give them surprises. And most of all, you want to give them a memorable experience. When they leave, they got to take something away with them that is unique to this particular ship. And it is a great challenge for any designer. And I might sound tongue-in-cheek, but truthfully, I'm eternally grateful to Kelly for inviting me to do this project, because I've learned so many things that I would never know. Something called vibration. You know? You designed a chandelier, a beautiful crystal chandelier, about 17 feet long, but it can't move because it's always like the rattle. So the crystals have to be on a rigid stick. You're all designers here. Did you know that before?
If I can just, if I can add to what Kelly said too, I think what also was a challenge was the celebrity brand is a specific brand. They cater to a specific demographic, a target market that's a little bit more upscale. So people who enjoy celebrity actually enjoy the sense of this kind of environment that's not like overwhelming.
Right.
It's intimate, I think, and sophisticated. at the same
Quality
time.
has to play into it.
Absolutely.
Certain
Right.
element of luxury. You're like the Lexus of the sort of general cruise
I
market
think
in a
that's
way.
fair enough.
Yes, yes, yes.
We're
I
the
think so.
Ferrari of the cruise lines.
I think the Lexus.
Well, I think it's very interesting for me to see your introduction and to note that, in the 30s, the 40s, the 50s, the people that actually commissioned these massive ships were very single-minded. They had a very specific idea. The only people that could actually travel were extremely wealthy. I'm not talking about the third class that got stamped like cattle. I'm talking about the big rooms and the beautiful design was designed for a very specific clientele. They were wealthy, they were affluent, and nobody wanted to disturb their perception of the world. We're going to give you something that you can comfortably associate to the way you live.
And the elements also are the fact that at that time, ocean liners were transport. It was the
Sure.
only way to go. Today, it's an optional means of travel. It's an escapist possibility of relaxing or indulging in whatever you do. You're not essentially having to go to the Caribbean by ship. It's an optional way.
It's absolutely true, but you made also the distinction between a cruise liner and between
An
a
ocean
cruise
liner.
ship, an ocean liner between a cruise ship. Ocean liner went from point to
to B.
point. This goes out, turns around, and comes back. You might never get off from the ship. You want to experience the life aboard the ship. And it's a fundamental difference. I mean, it's a fundamental difference in thinking and also the way we perceive today hospitality and entertainment is totally different than the way people used to. There, everything was to support a certain lifestyle. We want to create a lifestyle that people can buy into and take pieces out of.
It's more complex now because
Much
you want
more.
to entertain them, relax them, wow them, educate them, feed them. There are so many more elements involved now than, say, 50 years ago.
And
it's a much harder
decisions-
task for a shipping company now.
And decisions are made by committee, guys. It's not one guy that sits, no.
Lots of executives in the room, right?
Uh-huh.
My second question is, what are the differences in design for spaces on ocean liners versus commercial interiors?
Well, again, we need to state the obvious. This vessel moves, and I can't stop saying that because this always comes as a surprise, to people. But we need to create a stable environment, on a ship. The ship is built in years and years at the shipyards with that purpose in mind, with the fact that it needs to be stable, needs to safely navigate, and needs to be sustainable in terms of, fuel and all these kind of things. So we need always to remember that this is the first and foremost thing. It's like, of course, it's an environment that entertains and need to entertain the guests 24/7, and this is very important to us. But it also needs to be really safe, and there, unfortunately, we talked about the challenges before, but we do have a lot of challenges. Like we said, beauty comes with challenges. So, what do you know that when you design a kitchen, you can use ceramic tiles because there are creases where the grease gets stuck into, and the USPH will never let it pass. What do you know that you need to design a coffee table with a glass tabletop that needs to be fixed? It needs to be fixed. It can't be just loose because, again, the ship moves, but needs to be fixed in a certain way so the cleaning crew can come and easily take it with the suction cups and bang, 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 and just go around the room and clean everything. There's so many things, again, that like Adam was mentioning, the chandeliers can't move. God forbid we have something on a cable. We need to put it on a fixed rod. and again, all this, we get to do it again and again and improve our designs, make these challenges invisible to the human eye and absolutely effortless.
Yeah, the design of the ship is not only full of challenges, it's full of contradictory challenges, because you heard them mention things like the vibration and the motion, which is a challenge, but yet at the same time, the ship is designed to actually bend along with move. So steel decks are intended to bend so that it can accommodate the slamming of the ship against ocean waves. And so the steel decks bend and flex. The materials that we put on them have to be able to be resilient to all of that. We have things like the size and the scale. We ask for really large, comfortable chairs. And when we see the designs the designers come up with, we say, Adam, it's a beautiful chair, but it now has to be 12 inches smaller. So how do we keep that design intent, and how do we accomplish the comfort, but be able to get it to be a small scale chair also at the same time? So every angle that we approach usually is also full of contradictions with each and every challenge that we're faced with.
In a sense, I wish, just one thing, I wish we had brought that, slide from the Enchantment of the Seas or any of these projects where we did the elongation of the ship for a ship to become from this big, now we want it this big. So how do we do it? Well, very simple. We slice it, we open it, we put a series of deck, and we sew it back. So I wish we had the feature on the ship here where people can actually really understand that all those decks are actually welded together piece by piece and then stock by stock. It's really like this kind of pancake architecture kind of thing.
Yeah, I mean, those guys do ships all the time. I tell you, the rules, the regulations, the codes, the health code, forget it. You can't do anything.
You can't do anything.
Wood.
But we made it beautiful.
Wood. We can't use wood because of the fire code. I said, so what is this? He said, well, it's something that looks like wood, you know. Keep the lights down, people will think it's wood. It never ends, you know. But the challenge is in taking all these restrictions and excelling and doing something that looks good, feels good, and it's actually happening. That little wine gizmo that I showed you, it's how tall is it? 6 meters? No, it's about 18 feet tall.
It is 6 meters.
With slabs of glass 18 feet tall. Now, this is a challenge to do on land as well. But the glass was not the issue. The issue was the bottles. The bottles rattle and move, and if the wine moves, you know, after a while, it's not good. You know,
becomes Coca-Cola.
Becomes vinegar. So all these shelves that hold up the wine have this, you know, this rubber cushions that you know, with neoprene, with all it has. They basically, I think they anticipate the movement of the ship and they adjust accordingly, keeping the bottle level. Now, if you guys have a client that has a budget for something like this, good luck. But this is the kind of stuff that you can do on a ship, that you have to do on a ship, but it's completely magical. It's a very, very interesting process, I must say.
And you, ladies and gentlemen, the evolutionary process, say in the last century, the Titanic was 45,000 tons, 2,000 passengers. We're coming up to Royal Caribbean, the parent of celebrity, the oasis of the seas, for 220,000 tons for 6,000 passengers next year, or later this year. So the dynamics and the infrastructure has expanded. Plus, we are now entertaining those people. Where on the Titanic, you barely had any entertainment. It was just movement. Now you've got to keep them busy. You've got to have the venues, et cetera, et cetera. So the dynamics, the statistics have expanded to such a tremendous level. And we're now building the biggest ocean liners, passenger ships, cruise ships, the world has ever seen coming up. Now for my third question. What's experience defined through interior design of the space? What is experience designed through the interior design of the space?
Like I was mentioning before, I think it's important to create a mood for the spaces. It's important because, you know, you are in a confined environment, like everyone has always been saying. You're in a moving vessel, and sometimes you're trapped for like 1 or 2 days out at sea. So it's important to keep that mood, to keep it entertaining at all levels. And I think it's important to move people, like with emotion. You know, emotionally, I think it's important to move the people while they're in this space, in a restaurant, in a bar, or a lounge. And then what's great, too, is like, I don't know if we should mention, but there's a series of ships that are being introduced for the Solstice class. And another challenge is actually making sure that that mood carries on to the next ship. And so you can't have always the same space. For instance, for the specialty restaurants that we've completed, there needs to be a story. There needs to be a story that carries on. For instance, this may be Solstice. What's that individual? How different is it from the next ship? Which is Equinox. And then, of course, there's another ship, and that's another individual, another character, because you don't want to be left with the same ship all the time. Even you want to experience the different ships individually.
Within a class, are you saying you can't break definitively? It can't be night and day difference in the same class, can it?
No, it cannot be.
No.
There still
There's
has
got
to
to be
be
some
a consistency,
They're improvement.
a denomination that carries on from one ship to the other. Not necessarily improving at them. It's really more about a character, an individual.
A family relationship within the celebrity
Right.
family.
Within the family and even within the ship, it's really important that we provide stylish design, but in such a way that it's timeless, because the guests that are on board the ship are on board from 7 days to 14 days. So the experience can't get boring after a while. It has to be stimulating, and it has to be enough to really invite the guests back again and again and again and last time. Our ability to renovate and retrofit through the whole life cycle of the ship is equally challenging because they're in ports of call all over the world. So when we design it, we put a lot more effort and time up front to design it really well and make sure that the design is timeless, that it will endure a number of years and continue to satisfy guests over and over and over again.
Well, you know, Kelly mentioned earlier, it's 4.5-year process. So 4.5 years ago, we all sat in that hotel room with the food, I remember. It was a lot of it, wasn't very good.
There's more paper than
And we tried to come up with something that people will appreciate, love, and, you know, cherish 4.5 years later. We were not trying to do something that was instant gratification. We were sort of trying to forecast what would be the mood in 2008 when the ship hits the seas. And I'm not talking about economical. What would people be expecting from design? You know, I mean, we went through a very, very strong process of trying to, and everybody, I must say, believed that people are getting more and more sophisticated and getting more and more conscientious of good design and demand more and more good design. I mean, look at the iPhone. How many of you have it? Probably half. What's the difference between an iPhone and my phone? You know, design. It's same price. It does the same things. Maybe it has a couple of more applications, but people attracted to this little gizmo because design-wise, it's brilliant. It's different. It makes you feel like you are a little bit more sophisticated because you have some. Same with the ships. I mean, people will come to this ship because it's designed better than other ships. They are willing to pay the premium. They are willing to book. I understand that it's extremely successful. You know, it does exactly what the other ships do. It goes out to sea, you eat for 7 days, and you come back, you know. Sorry, I tend to be a little simplistic, but this one, you want to go on because you discover new things. It's just surprising. You turn around the corner, and there is Francesca's crazy chair with the, you know, and there's another guy, and then there's this and this, and wow, and look at this, and take notes, and, you know, it's very, very exciting, and it's something that people demand these days.
And my fourth question, with the Solstice being the benchmark, how does it define the future of cruise ships? Where does Solstice fit in?
hire
and
us.
the current trend?
I think Solstice does a lot to break the myths of cruising, because I think the myths are that you go and you get your assigned seat and that's where you sit for your dinner every night, and then when that's done and you go to your show. Solstice, for instance, has 10 different dining venues on board. I think the slide run that you see here is representative of both the diversity as well as the continuity that the ship represents. And so it does a lot to break those myths with respect to the diversity of the dining venues, the diversity of the relaxation venues. There are a lot of activities, there are a lot of active guests that come on board this ship to sail with the cruise. They don't sit in a lounge and play bingo, as well as the entertainment, the shopping experiences. So it's a very enriching
The spa, the
spa.
health, the fitness, everything.
And a lot of really wonderful enrichment programs are being done on our ships today. And I think, Bill, you've been
Oh, yes.
a very important speaker on a number of our cruises where you can sort of stimulate the intellect but relax the brain at the same time. That it's something that you just really get away from, but you can find it enriching and expand your horizon, pun intended.
True. I mean, we were designing tasting rooms, kitchen, where the guests can come up and take cooking lesson, wine appreciation courses, the wine cellars where you can go in and do, and then if you like the wine, you can order it and they'll deliver it to your home. A whole bunch of very exciting stuff. And the times that I was on the ship, there were people from all ages, from all walks of life and different, states and countries, and everybody was busy. I mean, they're running to the spa, they're doing this, they're going on the air slide, they're going to shoot this. Always something to do. It's quite, and where shall we eat tonight? And it's not like, the same old dining room that Tihani thing. There are 10 restaurants, and one is better than the other and more exciting. So now they are fighting to get reservations, and they feel like they live in New York, It's like,
Well, I think that this was one of the main points, in fact, on the Solstice and I had this impression when I first stepped in, like when doing the inaugural cruises. However, I've seen the vessel so many times, before he got to lunch, but I got in and I breathed this sophisticated boutique hotel air. It's like, I'm like in this, the vessel is big. It is really very spacious, but I was under the impression that it was a very cozy, sophisticated environment, and everything was there for me. I mean, these enrichment programs, I think they speak volumes about the activities on the ship. And again, design speak volumes, and we all make it, to our, the best of our abilities, our talents. I think that the integration really with our design and the programmatic intents and all the programs that we discussed so long, during the design process, they really come through. You really see the why something is there, why those chairs are there, what do they serve the purpose? Well, we have an enrichment program. It's not just a dining room. We have also an enrichment program that when, this dining room during the day can be used for cooking lessons. And all of a sudden you see different uses, multifaceted, multifunction, constantly changing rooms. I think that this is like one of the most innovative things on this industry that we ever done.
The benchmark too, I think, with Solstice is the fact that they really identified a demographic, and that's the baby boomers, and also diversifying with that is women. Women in that age group actually make a lot of decisions in a relationship, in a family situation.
As they did in the old liners?
Yes. Well, they are in charge of the finances. They were in charge of good taste. So I think it's great that actually Solstice did that. So
if we didn't tell you enough exciting things, I gotta tell you about one detail on this ship that if you don't believe me, go see it. On the deck, on the top deck, there are lessons in glass blowing. Now imagine there's a killing with glass, guys showing you how to make little Venetian doggies. I don't know if you've ever been on a cruise ship that does this, but boy, it was amazing. right?
That's right. That's very right. The
And
Corning.
it's next to a real grass golf course,
Yep,
by the
that's
way.
right.
We have
You can
real
walk.
grass.
You can walk barefoot in the park.
Exactly. You can walk-
12,000 square feet of real grass that grows on the rooftop. It's
That's
part of
pretty
our
amazing.
part of our green
Yeah.
initiatives.
Yeah,
Double
it's
entendre.
just mind-boggling.
Right.
You know, it's not an issue.
Yeah.
So I highly recommend it.
And I was just talking to
Book
one
it
of
now.
the members, actually, it's actually very refreshing. One of the IID members said that when you walk out on that deck in the morning and smell that fresh grass, I mean, it's pretty unreal because you're out in the sea. Yeah.
Before we move to your questions, ladies and gentlemen, 12 million people took cruises in the